The vulgar crowd always is taken by appearances, and the world consists chiefly of the vulgar. You've seen someone in a power position before and wondered, how on earth could they possibly get here? It could have been a CEO, a politician, or even a cleric. Why is it that the most ignorant, loud, and reckless often rise to the top? You'd think intelligence, virtue, and competence would be the path to leadership. But history tells a different story. In ancient courts and modern governments, in boardrooms and ballot boxes, the pattern repeats. The foolish, the arrogant, and the cunning seem to win far more often than the wise. Niccolo Machiavelli saw this clearly. Writing in the chaos of Renaissance Italy, surrounded by corruption, betrayal, and collapsing republics, he didn't flinch from the ugly truth. He looked power straight in the eye, and he told us what he saw. Today, we turn to Machiavelli, not just as a political theorist, but as a kind of dark psychologist. He forces us to ask, why do we keep falling for appearances? Why does deception beat honesty? And why, in a world overflowing with knowledge, do fools keep finding the throne? For Machiavelli, power is not about truth. It's about perception. He observed that most people don't want the burden of thinking. They don't have time to study policy, read philosophy, or weigh moral nuance. Instead, they react to symbols, to confidence, to performance. That's why rulers don't need to be good. They just need to appear good. Machiavelli wrote that a prince should learn how to wear masks, to appear merciful, honest, and just, while being ruthless when necessary. This isn't hypocrisy in his eyes. It's survival. Because the crowd judges not the heart, but the spectacle. So when a foolish leader rises, it's not always because people are tricked. It's because people are tired. Tired of complexity. Tired of weakness. They choose clarity over truth. Certainty over wisdom. And often, the fool is the one bold enough to give it to them. Machiavelli believed that fortune favors the bold, not the careful, not the intelligent, but those willing to act decisively without waiting for perfect information. He called this quality virtue, not virtue in the Christian sense, but strength, audacity, courage, the ability to bend events through sheer will, and often it's the most foolish who possess it. Not because they are brave, but because they don't understand the risks. Their ignorance becomes a kind of armor. They charge into chaos. They lie without shame. They promise the impossible. And because they move with confidence, people follow. Meanwhile, the wise hesitate. They question. They see the full weight of consequences. And while they deliberate, the fool is already waving from the podium. This isn't justice, it's theater. But in the world Machiavelli describes, the actor who believes in his role often wins the crown. The irony is brutal. The very qualities that make someone good often keep them from power. Good people are cautious. They tell the truth, even when it's unpopular. They care about long-term outcomes. But Machiavelli warned that these virtues can be liabilities in politics, because politics is not a place for purity. It's a battlefield of interests, egos, and illusions. And those who refuse to lie, to manipulate, to play the game, they get outmaneuvered, not because they're wrong, but because they're playing by rules no one else respects. This doesn't mean goodness is useless, but it does mean that, in Machiavelli's world, goodness must be armed. A just leader must also be a strategist. An honest man must learn to wear armor. Otherwise, they'll be eaten by wolves dressed as saints. Machiavelli's warning wasn't to abandon morality, it was to toughen it, to understand that power without scruples often beats virtue without spine. History, Machiavelli believed, moves in cycles, and one of the most dangerous is this: comfort breeds complacency, complacency breeds foolishness, and foolishness opens the gates for tyranny. When societies grow soft, when people no longer value discipline or sacrifice, they become easy prey for charismatic fools, leaders who offer quick fixes, enemies to blame, easy answers, and the cycle continues. What makes Machiavelli frighteningly relevant is that he didn't see this as an exception. He saw it as the rule, because most people, most of the time, will choose comfort over courage, flattery over truth, noise over substance. And in that environment, it's not the best who rise, it's the loudest. So what do we do with Machiavelli? We don't have to become liars or tyrants, but we do have to wake up, to see that power is rarely innocent, that charisma can hide incompetence, that ignorance, when packaged with confidence, can win elections, lead armies, and shape the future. To think like Machiavelli is to think dangerously, not to abandon ethics, but to ground them in realism, to ask, not just what should happen, but what does happen. Because only when we see clearly, without illusions, can we begin to resist the fools who wear crowns. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to tell us what to believe. He wrote it to show us what we're up against. And once you understand the game, you have a choice. Stay blind, or play smarter. The world is full of crowns handed to fools, because appearances are easy, because lies are comforting, because boldness sells. But Machiavelli gives us a gift, not a moral code, but a lens, a way to see through the mask, to understand how the game is played. And maybe, just maybe, to stop rewarding those who play it worst. Because while the crowd may be vulgar, it doesn't have to be blind. And while fools may rise, the future, if we have the courage to think, can belong to those who see.